Hello everyone. Today we will be doing class 10 geography chapter number 1, resources and development. So first of all, let's see what are resources. So resources are those substances which can be used to satisfy our needs, and they are technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable. Again, resources are those substances which satisfy our need. They are technologically accessible, economically feasible, culturally acceptable. Okay, then see, over here it is given that the physical environment, that is the nature, the technology and the institutions and human beings, all are interconnected. Now let's see how they are interconnected. Because the human beings, they interact with the nature, and they interact with the nature through technology, and they create institutions to accelerate the economic development. Okay, so in this manner they are interconnected. Here I have told you. Then let's see how the resources can be classified on the basis of origin, exhaustibility, ownership and status of development. So here's is a quick formula: OEOD. Origin, exhaustibility, ownership, status of development. Okay, now let's see the subtypes. So in origin they are classified into biotic and abiotic components. Biotic components are the living components such as humans, flora, fauna, fish, livestock, and abiotic ones are the non-living like the rocks, the metals. Then on the basis of exhaustibility they are uh, classified into renewable and non-renewable. So those can be renewed like solar, wind energy, water, forest, and those cannot be non-renewed renewable resources such as metals and fossil fuels, petroleum. Okay, so they cannot be renewed, they get exhausted. Then on the basis of ownership: individual, community, national, international. Then on the basis of ownership: individual means when any property is owned by a private individual, like your house, any plantation or any other property. Then by community, so for example, there is a village and the village people, they have a park or they have a burial ground, a graveyard, so that is the communal property. Then national owned by the nation, such as the water resources, the forest, the wildlife, the land within the political boundaries. Okay, all these are owned by the nation. And international resources, where no country owns the resources. For example, the oceanic resources, which are beyond 200 miles of the economic zone and they belong to the open ocean, no individual country owns it. Which thing? Oceanic resource beyond 200 miles of exclusive economic zone. Oceanic resource beyond 200 miles of economic zone. Then on the basis of status of development. Okay, so first is potential. Potential are those resources which are found in a region, but till time they are not being utilized. Okay, they are found but not utilized. Example, in Rajasthan and Gujarat there are potential of wind and solar energy, but these energies have not been utilized yet. Then developed stock or developed resources. Sorry, there are three: potential, developed and stock. Okay, so developed, we will see. Developed are those resources which are developed. Okay, their quality, their quantity, everything is developed and it is surveyed and can be used by the people. Then last one is the stock. So what is stock? Stock is those materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings don't have proper technological assistance or technology to use that stock. Okay, for example, if I say you to make water to take out oxygen from water, H2O, so will you be able to do that? No, because we don't have that technology to separate hydrogen and oxygen from water. Then reserves are the subset of stock which can be put into use through the existing technologies, but till time they are not being used or their use has not been started. Example, you can produce hydrochloric power through river water, but till time we have not done so. Then let's see this chart. Okay. So, resources are classified into natural and human. Natural into renewable, non-renewable. We have seen these things earlier also. Okay. Renewable may continuous flow, example wind, water, solar energy, and biological. Okay. Biological may your forests and wildlife. Then in non-renewable comes which are recyclable such as metals, and which are non-recyclable such as fossil fuels, your petroleum. So this was about natural. Now let's see about human. So human, the institutions, the structures, the monuments, the buildings, and the quantity and quality. Okay, the man-made things. Okay, so now I have told you everything from this page. Just this, did you know, is left that India has got the right to mine mangoes from the bed of Indian Ocean. Okay, then yes, let's begin with development of resources. Why it is not happening? Let's see some problems. Okay, so one, depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of people. Accumulation of resources in hands of few people means the rich people have all the resources, the poor don't have. And indiscriminate exploitation of resources, which had led to global ecological crisis such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, land degradation, and whatnot. So, what to do to safeguard the future of our planet? So, there should be an equitable distribution of resources between every person, and there should be a sustained quality of life. I will tell you the meaning of sustained also. Okay, for global peace. Okay, so we can do all this such things. Also, resource planning is essential. Okay, you should plan and use. And sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. What is the sustainable development? Sustainable, first of all, what does this word sustainable mean? Sustainable means survival. So, sustainable development means development which should take place without damaging the environment, and there should be no compromise with the needs of future generations. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this. Now let's see about the Rio de Janeiro summit of 1992, which took place in Brazil, where 100 people of 100 countries came, and it was the first international earth summit. Okay, so why was the summit means called? For addressing the problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. Okay, and over there the leaders, they signed the Declaration of Global Climatic Change and Biological Diversity, and they also discussed about the 21 agenda. So what is this agenda 21? Agenda 21 is the 21 ideas which were discussed, or the 21 21 issues which were discussed in that summit. So it is a declaration which was signed by the world leaders in 1992. Okay, and where was it signed? United Nation Conference on Environment and Development. This is very very important. UNCED, United Nation Conference एनवायरमेंट एंड डेवलपमेंट. सी इतना तुमको याद ही रहेगा. यूनाइटेड नेशन कॉन्फ्रेंस, चैप्टर का नाम क्या है? डेवलपमेंट, और एनवायरमेंट से रिलेटेड है, एनवायरमेंट एंड डेवलपमेंट. देन it now, what does this thing aims at? It aims at achieving global sustainable development, and it wants to combat the environmental damage, poverty, disease through global corporations. Now, resource planning. So we have seen this word resource planning so many times. What is this and why should we do? So let's see, why should we do this? So resource planning is important in our country like India because it has enormous diversities in the availability of resources, because some resources present in only some area and the other area does not has that type of resource. Okay, so there are regions which are rich in certain types of resource but they are deficient in some other resources. So what is there? There are variations. Therefore, there are some regions which can be considered self-sufficient in terms of availability of resources, and there are some regions which have shortage of very very vital resources. For example, these states such as Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, they are rich in minerals and coal deposits. Okay. And Arunachal Pradesh has lots of water but it lacks infrastructural development. Also, state of Rajasthan has a lot of good solar and wind energy but it lacks in water resources. The Ladakh is isolated from rest of the country, though it has a very rich cultural heritage, but it does not has water and infrastructure and also some vital minerals. So therefore there should be some balanced resource planning at the national, state, regional and local levels. Let's summarize. Jharkhand has mineral but not infrastructure. Arunachal Pradesh has water but not infrastructure. Rajasthan has solar energy, wind energy but not water. Ladakh has good heritage, water but no infrastructure and minerals. Okay, so we understood what is resource planning. We also understood how why resource planning is important. Now let's see how it is done. So it has three major steps. Number one, identification and inventory of resources across regions. First, you have to identify the resources, you have to invent the resources. How will you do so? Through surveying, mapping, and estimations, measurements. Okay. Then, step number two is evolving planning structure and so you have to plan a structure. Okay, you have to plan a structure. First, what you have to do? First, you have to identify and invent the resources. Then you have to, make a planning structure. Okay, and how will you do that? Through your technology, your skills, through your institutions. And then you have to match the resource developmental plans with overall national developmental plans. So there are three things. First, you have to identify your resources through mapping and your estimation, surveying. Okay, then you have to make a really good planning structure through the technological skill and the institutions. Then you have to lastly match the resources resource development plan with the overall national development. You have to see whether development is happening or not. Now, The history of colonization tells us that the rich resources of the colonies were the attractions for the foreign invaders. Now, they want to tell us that how the foreign people had a really good technological assistance development, and through this they had exploited the resources of other regions of our country.